So in this video, I want to show you a cool automation that I built with Claude Code in just 30 minutes. And I built it as a non-technical business owner. So I've never used these tools that you will see today. And a bit of the context is that for the past year, every month, someone on my team was spending 30 to 60 minutes on the most mind-numbing task imaginable. And yeah, last week I got rid of 95% of this task forever. And I just spent 30 minutes building this automation out using natural language, again, as a non-technical business owner. So in this video, I just want to show you how this process of this specific task looked like before me automating it. I want to demonstrate how actually it runs now that it is automated, how I build it, and what is the big lesson for the business owner. Okay, so let's jump into the context of what this task that I automated even is. So I run an online school, and a part of this school is students joining live calls, specifically 5 live calls. And attendance is a requirement for graduation. So what we have to do after every call is basically checking who was in the call. So we're using Zoom for video calls. This means that somebody on our team basically every month had to go and download this report and then match the names in this CSV file with our spreadsheet. And that's not the easiest task because a lot of the times these names in the spreadsheet are not person's real name. Sometimes it's their last name, sometimes it's their initials, sometimes it's their email. So there is a little bit of detective work to figure out who fits into which row so that we can just mark that they were in the call, right? So what you can see here, the first column is the first name. Then we also have the second name, email, and so on. But here from column P to T, this is the 5 live calls. They either have to join or submit the report afterwards. And we need to mark who's there, right? So if we just had a business strategy practice session, and this is the TCV file we got, we would now need to mark who was there, who was not there, and then reach out to those who were not there because they had to do a report. So that in itself is easily 30 to 60 minute task because a person would have to log out of their personal Zoom, log into their admin Zoom, which is the Zoom we are using for setting up the student calls, navigate to reports, find the right meeting, download the CSV file, open the spreadsheet, match the name. This is the most time-consuming part. Find the right column and then write yes or no. And even in this stage, writing, finding the right column, there's a lot of mistakes, or sometimes there are mistakes that happen here, which happen more often to us than to machines. So all of that, as you can see, not a lot of added value as a task. Well, we have to do it because we believe in that's our philosophy in terms of how we teach. Attendance or reporting. Well, attendance is important, or at least you having watched the call and then sending the report in. So it does create value in terms of the product, but it's just it's a task that hopefully could be automated already. And luckily now we live in the age when it can be. So let me just demonstrate how this whole process, the one that used to take 30 to 60 minutes, looks like now. So basically what I need to do, or what I have done, is build a automation in Claude Code, and I'll show you later how I build it. Now I will just demonstrate how it's run. So I just need to tell it to run an attendance report, and I don't need to use exactly these words. I can just say, hey, please do the attendance report of the last practice session, or whatever else. It's going to understand the essence. And I built in a way where every time I provided the Zoom meeting ID, which is these numbers, I provided the Google Sheet URL and the column. If I would always use the same Google Sheet for this kind of task, I could have also just fixated the sheet and maybe just given it the column and the ID. But for now, I thought, wait, let's just make some things more easy on the machine, and I'll just give it these 3 things, which are pretty easy for me to find. Again, so this is the Zoom meeting ID. This is the Google Sheet link, and then this is the column in which I wanted to mark who are the attendees, right? So we will actually be able to see this also here. So I have hidden the first names, so just for privacy sake, but we'll be populating the demo column here with who was in the call and who wasn't. So let's just run this. And I will run this in something called anti-gravity. And maybe that's a topic for next call, but it's just a software that helps you build things in Claude Code and also run things in Claude Code. And by the way, I have never used a tool like this 2 weeks back. So it's not like I am proficient in this tool. I just learned it because I was really curious about the Claude Code's capabilities to build automations. So yeah, maybe if you want me to dive deeper into how to use this tool, I can share some on that as well. But for now, let's just run this. So run the attendance report. So this is the Zoom meeting ID. This is the sheet, and this is the column. And additionally, I want to tell it to, if there are any students that you cannot match, please do not reveal their names in this terminal, in this conversation, because I'm recording a demo. So I don't want to show any names. Just write student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, something like that. And actually just disregard them completely. Just maybe do the dry run and the actual run of this workflow without the names that you weren't able to figure out who they are. Yeah, and actually just skip the try run, just do the proper run right away. Okay, so I'm giving it some additional context because obviously I'm recording this. I don't want us to accidentally reveal any names of our students for the privacy case. What would happen typically is it would tell me, hey, there's 25 names in this spreadsheet. I was able to identify 21, where to put them exactly. And for these 4, I'm not sure. Can you help me define these 4? So the way I set up this automation is that if it has 85% confidence rate, then it does it itself. If not, then it asks me. And the idea is that I basically can just, do not update the tool, just do not update the script, just do not reveal the names this time because I'm recording the screen. So what I now wanted to do is actually modify this before running. Let's see if I actually can do without updating the script. But yeah, as I was saying, so if there were 4 names that it couldn't classify, then it would ask me. I would do the detective work for those names. But I only need to do this once because then I could tell it, hey, actually, is this student 1, is this row? So please remember this for the next time. Okay, so basically, that was about like 20 seconds of me talking. Let's see if it has done the job. If I go here, yeah, that's it. So it was able to tell me for these 20 students, 20 students that they attended, and there's 4 who I need to check for. And again, as I said, I just need to do this once for these specific names, and then I can also tell it to remember this. So the next time I run it, it will know that those display names belong to those rows. So again, it's less work than if I would have to do this every month, obviously. So for me, this is incredibly impressive because maybe even the example I'm showing you now is not the most time-consuming one. We all have tasks that take, on a daily basis, 30 to 60 minutes. So another automation I'm building right now is a automation for the support email. So we have an email where we get support requests, and I'm building basically a automation that is being trained on our previous answers to draft responses. So it's not going to send them automatically, but it's going to draft responses. So that's going to make it faster for the support team to be answering those. And maybe I can share that in the next video. But the idea here is just to show you what's possible, because for me, this is just crazy how many tasks are still in our businesses, in our companies, that we are not even aware that AI can take over in this way. I just quickly also want to address how is this different from building something, a similar automation with something like Zapier, which is also another no-code automation tool. Maybe you have heard of it, but it's like a pre-AI way of building automations. And I just want to say that the big difference is in building. So in Zapier, you've had to have quite some more technical knowledge. Yeah, the UI was clean, but you couldn't build automations with just natural language. It was not as strong at that. But I think the biggest difference is the fact that what something like Claude Code has is the flexible intelligence, right? So it can reason. As I said before, in this spreadsheet, we do not have exactly the same names. So this column here, name, does not one-to-one match the first names here. And the way all the automation systems work is that if they were not exactly the same, they would just give you an error. They would just say, okay, we don't know how to handle this, we're out. And here we can use intelligence to reason, to help us reason, and to do some of the more intelligent tasks than we had to do before. And if you use this correctly, the Claude Code, actually it can do both, right? It can be the flexible intelligence, and then it can also be precise. It can also do the precise reliability if you let it write scripts for the tasks that actually need reliability. But more about that maybe some other time. Maybe one downside that somebody would see between the Claude Code and Zapier is that you need to manually run it. Instead of with Zapier, you had triggers. Well, actually, you can also build triggers into Claude Code. But again, that would make this whole video much more complex. So let me just show you how I built this, which I think is very, very interesting, which is, that was my very first prompt. Basically, you can see it's all natural language, and I just told it to help me build an automation that does the following. Checks in Zoom who joined the call. I can provide you the ID. Host is this email. And those who have joined for at least 10 minutes need to get marked attended in a spreadsheet, in this column. Hey, the hardest part is going to be matching the names to sheet, as sometimes attendees only have the first name or initials. If you can assign a certain attendee, tell that to user. Ignore DMB team members. That's also very important, right? So there's our teachers in the call as well. They can be ignored. What I'll always provide you is a spreadsheet column. It's different for every call. And meeting ID, because we might have different meetings where we want to use this for. And preferably, please use Zoom API, etc. I won't go into details why I did this. It's maybe for another video, but I just want to show you that I just used natural language and it just started building this Python script. And at a certain point, what you see in Claude Code is this kind of overview of the do's, what it's doing for you. And when it needs your input, such as here, so it wanted me to get Zoom credentials, so the API keys. I've never done this before, right? But it told me, okay, you need to go into this link, you need to click this, then click that, then do this, then da-da-da, and just give me back the numbers. And that's what I did. That was all I had to do, basically, plus testing and seeing if it's working. So, I mean, honestly, when I built this first automation for myself, it was one of those like mind-blowing moments. And I think the big lesson that I want to share with you is that a lot of people talk about vibe coding, mostly about like building products, building my SaaS that I can sell to the consumer market or B2B market. But I think there's a huge, maybe even bigger market for the back-end processes. So to basically vibe code scripts, vibe code automations for your processes, for things that you're doing on an ongoing basis, or maybe somebody in your team is doing on an ongoing basis, to just automate a lot of those things and make them more reliable. And so we can spend time on stuff that AI still can't do, and we can drive more value through that. And these things are completely custom made, right? So you can make, because every company has a slightly different process. Maybe you use a different tool. Maybe somebody in your team has a different skill set. So no two companies are doing the same process the same way. But the nice thing about the vibe coding of the backend processes is you can completely tailor-made this to yourself. And just to give you some other examples, what I'm building myself is the supporting email drafting. So as I said before, I want to have an automation that drafts the support email requests. There's still going to be a person looking over those, but I think it's going to save us a lot of time if we can at least have drafts, so we're not starting and typing everything from zero every time. Then I'm building a YouTube publisher, which is just a flow that after I get a video, I can just much faster deploy it on YouTube and send an email to my list and also publish on LinkedIn that I share that. It's just another automation that is going to save me some bandwidth. I have already built my daily briefing, which is if I just tell it, hey, run the daily brief, it tells me things like what are my events in the calendar for today, how many leads we have acquired yesterday through HubSpot. Do I have any unanswered questions on our learning platform? Do I have any unanswered questions on Slack? Do I have any unanswered emails? And yeah, I could just go on all these different platforms to check that for myself, but there's two problems with that. A, it costs time, and B, it costs attention, because as soon as I get into a learning platform or Slack, I get distracted. Even if there's nothing for me necessarily to answer, I might go to channels that there's some new messages, and I might just start reading and just get sidetracked. And this is just scratching the surface of what's possible. I really believe this is the future of ops, of operations. Super excited to start building more of this stuff for me personally and for the DMBA. So I guess I'll be sharing more of these videos, these kind of videos on this channel. But I will also be curious to know from your side if you found this interesting, and maybe what kind of automations maybe I could show you how to build, because I'm very curious and I'm going to be learning this in public on this channel. So if there's anything maybe from today's video that you want me to dive deeper into, share more about, happy to do this in one of the next videos. That's it. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.